I'm Dana, and I wanted today's video to be a little bit fun. So for the last couple of days I've been keeping a little notes list of things that I just sort of question and feel like I don't entirely understand that it seems like everybody else gets. Like, it doesn't seem like anyone else is questioning these things. So I want to ask the questions, I suppose, and talk a little bit about what I don't understand about it, and see if it's something that other autistic people relate to and also don't get, see if people can provide me with the answers, you know, just a little bit of fun. So the first one that I want to ask, and I am reading off my list, I'm sorry, I don't have very good memory, but do people just have families and kids to have people to do things with? Because, like, I've been considering doing a little bit of online dating again recently. That's how I found my last relationship. I've been on a couple of, like, little dates, one that was really horrible and a couple that were quite fun. Like, I do enjoy, like, a little date, you know? But I was thinking about why I want to date someone and what I want out of it, you know? And I was like, I just want someone to do something with, you know? Like, if I was gonna go on to, like, Tinder or Hinge or whatever, I would be going through being like, I've bought rollerblades, I really want to try rollerblading, I want to try rock climbing, I really want to try some sort of, like, natural water sport, like paddleboarding or kayaking or something. I would be looking for someone to do a hobby with, you know? Like, I'm not actively, like, I don't currently particularly feel like I need or want a relationship, but me and my friends are all really busy, so a lot of the times our schedules aren't lining up, and I was like, I want someone to do stuff with. And that was where my mind went, you know? And realistically, I should probably just reach out to some other friends that I'm not as close with, that I don't know as well, that I can then get to know better and get more comfortable with. But my first thought was like, I should get, like, a partner and then have that person to do all my stuff with. And then it made, like, as I've been, like, out and about and doing things, I've looked around more often, and I'm just like, are y'all getting married and having kids and creating families and stuff because you want someone to do stuff with? Because, like, I don't mean that in, like, a really shitty, invalidating, horrible way, because I think that's a fair enough thing to do, you know? Like, if you want people to do stuff with, find people to do stuff with, that's what you've done. But also, like, I think some of it just stems from, I don't really understand why anybody would want children. Like, I'm not a parent, I haven't, like, popped one out and had that sudden burst of love or whatever, so I really, like, I don't get why you would really particularly want kids. So I am like, is it just so that you have something else to focus on and you can be like, we're going to Peppa Pig World, we're taking the kids? Like, it sort of just feels like, number one, I think a lot of people do it because it's just sort of like the societally expected thing, you know? Like, when I was in a long-term relationship, I thought that eventually we'd get married and have kids because that's what you do. So I do think some of it's that. And obviously some people, like, have the maternal instinct or paternal instinct and want a child. But for some people, is it literally just you want someone to do something with, so you got a partner, and then the expected thing of having a partner is that you're going to have kids, and you just want to be able to, like, do stuff and have fun and do it with other people, and that's why you've done it. Next up is one that I predominantly think when I get slightly shitty comments on here, and that is, if some things are really difficult for everybody, why don't we just make them easier? Like, I don't have an awful lot to say about that one because I feel like it is pretty self-explanatory. Like, there are so many things that I will bring up as things that I struggle with and things that I find difficult and be like, is it because I'm autistic? Is this thing just difficult? Is everyone else just pushing through it? Like, I don't get what's going on. And people will straight up be like, oh no, like, it's hard for everyone else just manages to push through it, why can't you? And it's like, well, if everybody's struggling and if everybody's having a really difficult time with it, surely it would make sense to just make it easier for everyone rather than making me feel bad for not being able to do it. And I'm aware that a lot of things are, like, difficult because of the system, and they're systematically difficult and the system's broken. And it's like, okay, so why aren't more people looking into trying to fix the system? You know? Like, why are we just leaving things to be broken and not work and not doing anything about it? And obviously, I'm not the person for it. I don't know how to fix shit. Like, I don't know how to sort anything out. I'm just little old me. But surely there's other people that are in different positions to me and have different knowledge than me and have the education behind them and the knowledge and the skill set to be able to make a difference and make a change. And they're just like, oh, it is really hard for everybody, don't you worry, you're valid. And it's like, okay, but, like, why does it have to be hard for everybody? You know? Like, this isn't, like, mountain climbing. I'm not saying knock a mountain down so it's easier to climb. These are, like, systematic things within our society that we can just change because we created them in the first place. Like, just change it. And similarly, I feel like this one might just be that I don't fucking understand capitalism, and I also don't understand what the purpose within a lot of jobs is. Like, I literally, when people tell me they have an office job, I'm like, okay, but what do you do, and they'll be like, oh, Excel and emails, and I'm like, okay, but what do you do? Like, what are the emails about? What are these Excel spreadsheets about? I literally do not understand what office work is. I don't know what you're doing. Like, I watched all of The Office, and I'm like, okay, so you're like a paper company and you answer phone calls and send emails. I don't understand what these phone calls and emails will even be about. I have no fucking idea what people do in an office job. So we've already got that out the way. My question is, why do we act like the people at the top of companies are the most like important person, and they're the person that like everybody looks to and shit, when they're the person that isn't doing shit? You know, like, they've just put money into it. That doesn't make you anything. Like people like Elon Musk, where it's like he's the head of Tesla and he's the head of fucking Twitter and he's this and he's that, and it's like, okay, but he's just bought those things and put money into them. Like, he's not actually an important man. All of those things would still be able to run without him as a person. You know, they might need his money, but they don't need him. So why are we acting like he's important? Because he isn't, you know? Like, I don't like Tesla as a company. It does seem to me, from what I've seen, a lot of their products are really shit. But I'm still much more likely to be really impressed by the engineer or the scientist or whoever it is that came up with the actual thing than I am by the guy that was like, make car, it be mirror, you know? Like, I don't understand why we act like the people that are the heads of companies are the important person when half the time they had like a vague, half-baked idea and put some money into it, and then someone else did the actual work. I'm much more impressed by those people. And obviously I'm coming at that from the angle of like something that's probably a little bit more creative, although I again don't really consider Tesla to be particularly creative. But you know, like, even when it comes to things like, why are we acting like the cashier in Asda isn't the important person when they're literally the person that's bringing in the money for the company, you know? Like, I don't know who owns fucking Asda. I'm aware that it's like owned by the same people that own Walmart and stuff. So similarly, the people that are doing the tills in Walmart and actually bringing in the money, and the people that are putting the things onto the shelves in order for people to be able to buy the things, in my eyes, are much more important parts of the company than whoever owns it, who's just some nameless dude that's raking in the profits and putting a bit of money into it at some point, you know? Like, I don't get why we have these like levels of importance that don't seem to make sense and don't actually comply with what the person is doing and how important that actually is to the business. Because like, if you don't have the people putting the things onto the shelves and then selling the things, you're not making any money whatsoever, and yet they're considered like the bottom of the ladder and the least important. I don't get why. I don't like it. I don't understand it. I'm confused. Next up, why do other people comment on other people? You know, like, you don't know, I haven't explained anything, but I especially my mother, and I've had many a friend that is no longer my friend that have done it, where like, you're just out and about, you're living your life, you're having a perfectly nice day, and they'll be like, oh, look at that woman, and I'll be like, what about her? And especially with my mother, she'd be like, oh, size of that roll of fat on her back, and I'd be like, why are you pointing this out to me? Why are you saying this? You know? And I've had it directed at me a lot, where I'll just be like stimming in public, or I'll be wearing a certain thing and people just be like, oh, she's doing that. And it's like, yeah, I am doing that. Like, why is it a problem with you? Why? I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand why we comment on other people's bodies or the way other people are behaving if it's not like disruptive and actively like a part of what's happening to us in that moment, you know? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, when I lived over in Birkenhead, there was a guy that used to stand by the bus station and just sing like that. It didn't seem like he was busking. It seemed like he was just having a good time, and I'd see him all the time and be like, go for it. You know, one that really stuck with me is I was walking past one time and he just went, now that we're here, let's make the most of it. And the echolalia, like, that must have been like nearly 10 years ago, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. But you know, like, he just stood there and did his thing, and I'd notice him and be like, cool. And then there was so many other people that I met through my partner at the time that just in random conversation they'd be like, oh, have you seen that weird guy that does that thing by the train station? And I'd be like, well, yeah, like, we all live in the same place and go there regularly. Like, I assume we all see a lot of the same people. And they'd be like, no, but he just stands there and sings. And it's like, I know, I just said that I've seen him, you know? Like, I don't understand why we're commenting and making a thing of like, this person did a thing. It's like, well, yeah, people do stuff all the time. Like, I don't know if it's that I have very little perception of whether or not I'm doing like the right thing to be like societally acceptable, or if I'm doing the wrong thing and people are going to be doing it about me. I don't know if it's that I just don't have the same like cues of what's societally acceptable. Like, I just don't care what other people are doing, you know? Like, if it doesn't affect me, if they're not like shouting at me or doing something to me, or like, you know, like I've been in a situation on a bus where someone like ripped off someone else's hijab and I was like, hey, and then other people stepped in and I was like, oh, thank God, I don't know what I was gonna do. Like, there are moments where someone else's behaviour doesn't necessarily affect me directly and I'm like, that's not okay though. You know, I'm not saying like just leave things to happen to people, but if it's not actively like a bad thing, if it's not actively something where someone should step in, I don't see any reason to point it out, talk about it, notice it. It's like, if it's weird enough that you've noticed it, it's probably weird enough that I've also noticed it, and it just doesn't matter, you know? When an event or like a thing has a specific time, what time am I actually meant to show up? What time is it actually happening? What time are other people going to get there? Okay, I've had this with parties where I've arrived on time and I've been like actually an hour and a half early and everyone acts like I'm a freak for being there, and it's like, but this is the time that you literally, like, I had the text message where you said, oh yeah, anywhere from this time, and that's the time that I've shown up. If you wanted me an hour later, you should have said an hour later, shouldn't you? It especially confuses me with things that are like community things, I suppose. Like things like with my church service, things like with yoga classes, things like that. Because like the church that I go to, service is at 11. That's what it says on the board. That's what it says, like, that service is at 11. But when I've shown up at 5 to 11, the priest isn't outside yet and the doors aren't open. I don't know what I'm meant to do, and I end up like looping the block a few times until the doors are open and the priest is there. But also, I don't want to show up at like 5 past 11 because it says that the service starts at 11. But I also know full well realistically from having been there a few times now that it doesn't start bang on 11 because that's when people are showing up still. So realistically it starts more like 10 past 11. But if I'm showing up at 10 past 11 and I feel like I'm late, I'm 10 minutes late, I'm not on time, I'm going to be one of the last people there. So I really feel like more things should have like a little like arrival from like 11:55, from like 10:55 to 11:05, service 11:10 or something, you know? Like, I don't like it when it's a case of like I need to show up directly on time, but also some places expect you to show up a little bit early and some places think that you're going to be a little bit late. I don't know how I'm supposed to tell which one's going to be which situation. I don't know how late is too late or how early is too early and how on time is too on time. It all confuses the shit out of me. I don't understand how everyone else seems to know it, and I don't understand why we don't just say what the fucking time is that you're meant to be doing things. That's one of the things that I'm sure is like me being autistic, and I don't think that it's like necessarily something that everybody experiences, you know? But it's put me off so many different things, you know? Because it's a case of like I'm anxious doing things like all of the Palestine protests that are happening in Liverpool at the minute. I've been to a handful of them and I would like to go to more, but it's the same thing that I've just said, where it'll be like, it starts at this time, and it's like, okay, but if I get there at that time, are we actually starting the march at that time? Or is that the time that you're expecting people to start showing up, and then you'll start marching in like 20 minutes, which means that there's 20 minutes there where I'm just stood there on my own being cripplingly anxious, not knowing what I'm meant to do, not knowing who I'm meant to speak to, like just feeling real fucking awkward. Like you could so easily say gathering time, this time, march time, this time, and then I could just show up for the bit that I actually feel I'm able to do, you know? Like things like that all the time, whether it's stuff that I actively like feel like I should be doing, like protests, whether it's things that I want to just do and enjoy for myself, whether it's things that I actually need to show up at, like actual appointments. I hate it. I'm so often early and then they act like I'm too early, but if I'm later then they act like I'm too late, and like it's just a constant nightmare. I don't understand it and I question it all the fucking time. And I feel like there's probably loads of other stuff that I question as well, but it's just not at the forefront of my mind right now, because that is the end of my little list that I've been making. Those are the questions that I have for today. If you have similar questions, I would love to hear about it in the comments. If you relate to any of my stuff, if you have answers to any of my stuff, anything that relates to this topic, I would love to hear about down in the comments if you would like to comment. I don't know why I lost my voice for a second there, but it seems like a really good hint that I should fully like finish up and round off the video, does it not? So I make videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays. If you would like to subscribe, if you wanted to like the video, that's really cool. I still don't really know what likes do, to be honest with you, but I'm sure they do something. So if you wanted to, I appreciate it. You can also follow me over on Instagram if you want to see like fun little pictures of my life, and you can follow me over on TikTok for like nearly daily autistic related content. I post all sorts over there, and I want to post more. I would like to be a little bit more like fun and less set up, I suppose, over there. We'll figure it, we'll get there. I also have Ko-fi and Patreon for anyone that might want to financially support me, but you don't have to, there's no pressure. There's all the other places you can follow me if you don't want to. You don't have to pay me money, it's fine. I hate it, I hate asking people for money, but it's there if you want to. I will all be linked down below in the little like description-y box thing, and yeah, that's all I had to say. So whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.